Hey everyone, I'm Charles Berthoud. I'm here at Sweetwater and I'm very happy to be introducing you to the brand new Laney Digbeth Foundry range. We've got 4 combo amps here today that we're going to go through, as well as a 200 watt head. But at the beginning, we're going to just be having a look at this 200 watt combo here with a 15-inch speaker. And we're going to go through all the features on that, and then we're going to look at the other amps right afterwards. The Foundry range is supposed to be kind of an introduction into the wider world of Laney bass amps, but it's got all the same sorts of features, just at a little bit more of a budget-friendly price range. So right now I've got it pretty flat, and it sounds like this. So as you can hear, it's really nice and crisp, but it still has some character to it. That's one of the things I love about Digbeth most, is that it's crisp and clear, but it still has some of that vintage character. It's not just completely sterile. And so we can start messing a little bit with the controls here, see what we can do. We can get a really nice drive that I was messing with earlier. And then you can kind of get a bit more of a lead sound if you just use the tilt knob, one of my favorite features actually. So as you can hear, I moved the tilt knob more into the treble side of things, and that just helps you to cut through the mix without having to like redo your entire EQ setup. You've just got one knob that can move everything into the more treble side of the frequency spectrum. Or you can go for a little bit of a darker tone. Again, you can just use the tilt knob. So you've got a very wide range of tones available, and you can also kind of mix the blend of the clean with the drive tone, so you don't have to just only be completely clean or completely drive. You can do a blend of the two. So the middle switch there is what's going to give you the blend. So there you can hear it's just a bit more of a subtle drive sound. As well as the tilt feature, which just lets you kind of put everything in either the treble or the bass side of things. You can also fine-tune the EQ much more than that if you want to. And this particular amp actually has a feature that the regular Digbeth range doesn't have, which is the pre-shape feature. And when it's off, it just, if you reduce or boost the mids, then you've got just a complete reduction of all the frequencies. So if you reduce all the mids completely, then you get this big scooped sound. And then if you boost the mids a lot, you get this kind of sound. It's probably a bit more than I would normally boost it. This is actually a sound that I use a lot when I'm tapping within a band context to cut through the mix a bit more. But if you use the pre-shape feature, then you get to choose which part of the mid spectrum you're cutting or boosting. So this is the lowest of the mid frequencies, which is now going to get boosted quite a bit. And then here's the next frequency you can do. And the next one. And here's the last one. So another thing that's very unique about this series is that it's not just stock drivers, which is quite common on amps and cabinets. Instead, what we have is custom-built HH Audio drivers, which are Laney's sister brand, and they've been designed specifically for this range. So in this one, we have the 15-inch, and it's the HH Audio Blue. And then in the other three, we've got an 8, a 10, and a 12. So you can pick whatever size you want. But the great thing is that it's custom-built, which is not very common, and means that these drivers are perfect for this range. And then on the back of the amp, you've got a lot of options too, like a DI out, FX send and return, and also a foot switch, which you can pair with the Laney FS2 Mini. So now we're going to have a look at the DBF 100. The panel is exactly the same as the 200, so you've got all the same features, and the biggest difference between this and the 200 is just that we have the 12-inch HH Audio Blue speaker in here instead of the 15-inch. But other than that, you've got all the same features, and you might hear a slight difference in tone because of the different size speaker. I'll play it to you with just a flat EQ right now. But you got all the same stuff. You can go into some nice overdrive. And then you can go back to clean and mess with the EQ. You can use the pre-shape knob just like the other one, and then you can have a scooped mid if you want, like this. Or you can boost the mids and get this kind of tone where you can cut through the mix in a band. And of course, just like on the DBF 200, you can blend the drive and the clean, and you can also use the tilt knob to quickly get yourself in the treble or the bass realm. So we can flick this to the middle setting, and that's what's going to give you the blend. The great thing about blending drive and clean is then you still get the grittiness and the aggression of the drive, but still with the clarity of the clean signal. here's how it sounds if I boost the tilt into the treble range. And now put it in the bass range. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the DBF 50, which has a 10-inch speaker. And you've got most of the same stuff on the panel that you did with the other two combos that we looked at. The one thing that's just a little bit different here is that you don't have the mid-frequency selection. And this is just a bit more of a stripped back feel, so you can really focus on just playing. You don't have to get too bogged down in exactly which mid-frequency you want to pick, but you can still get a very contoured mid option with the pre-shape knob here, and that's just going to give you a more precise cut of the mids or boost. So let's cut a bit of the mids, and then have a listen to how that sounds. So this is with the pre-shape knob on. And now let's turn the pre-shape knob off. So you can hear that's a pretty different tone, and that's just because with the pre-shape knob on, you're cutting or boosting a narrow band of frequencies, whereas when it's off, you're cutting or boosting all of the mids, and that just gives you quite a different sound. Nice to have that option, but also nice to not have to get too bogged down in the details of exactly which frequencies you're cutting or boosting, if that's something that you're not particularly interested in. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the DBF 30. So this one's 30 watts, and it's got some really interesting, pretty unique features. Probably most strikingly, it has the 8-inch HH Audio Blue driver inside of it, which is not particularly common. It's a bit of an unusual size for speaker, but it's really punchy and clear, and it's perfect for a little practice amp like this one. It's got a lot of the same features on the panel, and one of the things that it has, which all the other ones have too, but is especially useful on this one, it's got the headphones out here and the aux in. So the headphones out is going to be perfect for if you're practicing, but you don't want to, disturb your neighbors or whatever it is. You can practice really easily there. And then the aux in, you can plug in and play along with your favorite songs. So these are just some of the things that make it perfect as a practice amp. And then you've also got your drive knob here. So if you turn that on, and kind of like the classic amps of back in the day, rather than having a separate drive and volume knob, you just adjust your drive with the volume here. So, if you're down here, you've got less drive, but once you crank it up, you get something like this. So as you can hear, more drive comes in the more you turn up the volume, just like those classic amps of back in the day. Lastly, you've still got the pre-shape knob here too. So you can again switch between a more precise cut or boost of the mids. So right now it's off, which means you're just going to boost all of the mids or cut all of the mids. So boosted, it sounds a bit like this. And then if you flick the pre-shape knob, you're going to get a more precise boost. So right there, you're just boosting, a specific part of the spectrum, and that's why you get that different sound. So it covers the full range of what you need, whether it's playing live, playing in the studio, just practicing, It can do all of those things at a budget-friendly option. So that was the Digbeth Foundry range. There's just one more piece left of the puzzle, which is the DBF 200H head. And we've got it paired with a classic 4x10 Laney cabinet. And this cabinet has the HH Audio Black Series drivers in it. And this is the same head that you heard in the DBF 200, that 15-inch combo, but now we've got it in the head cabinet configuration instead. If you're interested in this or any other aspect of the Digbeth Foundry range, feel free to reach out to your Sweetwater sales engineer to get matched up with your perfect Laney product.